Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.
Welcome to Down to Watch. This is the podcast that asks, are you down to watch? I'm your host, Kahmeela, and there will be talk of movies today. Music, TV, and pop culture generally get in there as well. If you have not already, could you please follow us on Twitter at DTW Podcast or like us on Facebook, Down to Watch Podcast. This is episode 36, and we're going to try to find our glow. I have a special guest today, one PJ Gaynard. Gaynard?
Yeah, sure, Gaynard, yeah.
Gaynard? Tell the folks about yourself, PJ.
I'm PJ Gaynard. I'm an independent filmmaker. I've been making movies for a little over 20 years.
And you have a website or anything? Like, where can people find some of your stuff?
Yeah, you can find a lot of stuff on me at my website, which is www.goatmilkfudgeproductions.com. Yes.
Nice.
So, and I've got many YouTubes.
Well, I'm honored to have you here today. It's super cool. Also, just for the fact that I know you're a really great guy. I hear nothing but nice things about you all the time. Everybody who's ever worked with you.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't had the opportunity to work with you directly, but indirectly with the 48-Hour Film Project, and I have enjoyed my interactions with you. And also to find out that this is your first podcast. So I welcome you into the other side of this world, man.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here, and we're working together now.
Yes.
It's happening, and the viewers are along on a special journey.
Yes, awesome. Okay, I want to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by Horror Pack. Horror Pack is a horror movie subscription box. You can pick up to 4 different movie plans, or you can pick from 4 different movie plans, and the most popular being $19.24 a month, and that with that one, you get 4 horror Blu-rays or DVDs for 3 months. And those spectacular horror films are yours to keep. It's all yours. It's not like Netflix where you got to give them back. It's all for you. And we have a special code for our listeners to get $3 off your first month. So just go to horrorpack.com, sign up, and use the coupon code DownToWatchHP. You get yourself a treat. You get to let them know that sponsoring us works, and we get to keep bringing you this awesome podcast so everybody wins.
Yay!
And so today we are going to be talking about The Last Dragon. As always, there's going to be spoilers, but this movie has been out forever and ever. So if you haven't seen it by now, I probably feel like you're not going to.
Yeah, it's 31 years, right?
God.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and I saw this movie in the movie theater.
I'm pretty sure I did too.
Yeah, in the initial release. Yeah.
I was very young, 9.
Yep, me too. 76. You're a bicentennial baby.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Woot. So this movie is kind of near and dear to my heart. But before we get too deep into it, we had already decided that we were going to do The Last Dragon, and then sadly enough, earlier this week or last week, Vanity, one of the stars of this film,
Denise Matthews.
Yes, Denise Matthews is what she was going by in the later years of her life. She passed away. She had some health issues for quite some time. A lot of us might know her from, The Last Dragon, Vanity 6 as Prince's protege and ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
So our hearts go out to Denise's family and friends, and she left a nice little legacy behind, and
there's a book. She wrote a book.
Did she?
Yeah, that details some of her later years. She became a devout Christian.
Right.
She's very, very serious about it.
Absolutely. She had mentioned at some point that yes, Vanity was already dead to her,
yeah.
and she was just going by Denise Matthews. Much later years of her life, but yeah, I didn't know there was a book.
Yeah, there's a book, and as a matter of fact, if you really go digging around, you can find her GoFundMe.
Oh wow.
Site where she writes about I think trying to raise money recently, and you can you can see some of her, her words direct to the internet. If you go
Wow.
looking for it, and it's mostly it's a lot about, her love and her, belief in Christianity and
Mhm.
God and how important it was to her.
Wow. Oh well, yeah. So that was just some sad news, and so this one goes out to Denise Matthews. So now let's get into it. The Last Dragon was released in 1985, and like we were saying, I was a baby or 8 years old when we went to see it in the theater. The plot summary is: in New York City, a young man searches for the master to obtain the final level of martial arts mastery known as the Glow. Along the way, he must fight an evil martial arts expert and rescue a beautiful singer from an obsessed music promoter. Directed by Michael Schultz, written by Louis Venosta. And our personal histories with The Last Dragon, as I said, I saw it in the theater as a child, and for whatever reason, I was just in love with this movie from like years upon years on. It's just always one of my favorite, cult classic films. It became. I don't think it was a real box office success at all, but somewhere along the line, everybody was like, "Yeah."
Well, it lived a long life on HBO and cable
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yes, that's probably it. That's probably why it got into my psyche so much, is because way back in our day, when we finally had cable, you have HBO, Movie Channel, Showtime.
Cinemax.
Yes, Cinemax. If it was really special, and you have those boxes with the click.
The click or the button with a
Yes.
long cable, and you could sit on your, like my mom we had cable up in my mom's room, and it wasn't anywhere else in the house. There was a TV in the living room, but it didn't work. It was just for show.
Just for show.
Just for show. This big old TV, with wooden, and then upstairs in mom's room was a TV. Mom had a waterbed, of course. So I
My
watched.
mom too.
So it was MTV all the time.
Yep.
And then occasionally movies.
Mm-hmm.
And basically my entire summer was MTV from the time I woke up until it was time to go to
Oh,
swimming
yeah.
pool, and then come home after swimming pool, play badminton until it was dark, and then MTV and movies until you went to sleep,
Yeah.
and then back up again. It was my.
It was just that's
Yeah.
the summer ritual that happens to like a lot of us that were in the 80s, that were born in the 70s, and our childhood was in the 80s, and a lot of times HBO, they would have like 4 movies playing for
Yeah.
like a month. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, there are no TV shows, no
No.
HBO TV shows.
No. So you'd find a movie that you liked and you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep watching this every day all summer.
Pretty much. And, I think that MTV is sort of like it seeped into the culture in a really crazy way in the 80s, and that's why you can see this like sort of an extreme fashion sense,
Mhm.
because the extreme fashion
Oh my God.
is coming out of this music video sense, because their
Right.
music videos are pushing themselves in an avant-garde way,
Yeah.
because really the 80s are a resurgence of the 50s,
Mm.
except with music videos
Right.
and this crazy
Yeah,
crazy
just
art
like
culture.
exactly, just like hyped up, like like everything is day glow, and everything is like on coke, literally.
And shoulder pads.
Yes,
Shoulder pads in every outfit, guys and girls shoulder pads.
yes, it was a magnificent time. I shudder to think what it would have been like had I been a teenager in the 80s. Like what I already have like those, pictures that you're kind of embarrassed of, like, the 90s wardrobe. But my God, like being a teenager in the 80s, man, I mean, it was just, you tried to push the envelope in like 8th grade or whatever, junior high. It's like, oh yeah, look at my cool socks.
Well, I think we'd all like dress up on Halloween,
Yeah.
Halloween, and I remember always thinking like, wow, the girls look so awesome on I wish they dressed this way all the time. Why can't they dress like because most people like what the issue is that when you see culture from the mid 80s, like in terms of movies, and you see a lot of this like these day glow outfits and these shoulder pads and you see it a lot in The Last Dragon.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people couldn't afford to do that on the daily.
Right. So you'd have like one special outfit.
Yeah. And then the rest of it, it's like, jeans and t-shirts and shorter shorts than I would care to imagine.
Oh my God.
So I mean, I don't know, that was my life, and I mean, I grew up in Canonsburg, PA. So
Oh, okay.
So it's a small town,
Right.
but
So you guys weren't getting too crazy with the wardrobe in Canonsburg.
it's crazier than you might think.
Really?
Yeah, I think when you're from a small place, you try twice as hard.
Mm,
Because you
interesting.
want to build the rep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so and you saw it in the theater, and was this something that you have seen a lot since?
I saw it in the movie theater, and then I watched it on HBO like you did, and then it sort of fell out of my world for a little while,
Mhm.
and then occasionally Show Nuff comes back into your world, whether you like it or not. Show Nuff, but the thing about Show Nuff is you have to recognize that the idea, even more than the character himself, the idea of this Shogun of Harlem,
Mhm.
this Show Nuff, he has seeped into the culture in
Yeah.
a real way. So like Busta Rhymes,
Yeah,
dressed up
parodied
as
it
him.
like in the Dangerous video.
Yeah.
Using the '90s.
But people dress up as Show Nuff
Yeah.
for like Halloween.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen as much anymore, but it still does happen. And if you say you're Show Nuff,
Mm-hmm.
people will be like, "Oh yeah," like they know.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of times, you can go to someone and be like, "Who's the master?" And sometimes you'll be like, you'll get them Show Nuff.
Show Nuff. And I think about that because I think about the idea of what is a good movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? And The Last Dragon is a very silly movie.
It is.
Like it's totally over the top, and it creates a reality that is hyper. It's not reality at all.
There's no way this neighborhood, these people exist in real life.
But at the same time, you say like, well, can you say that a good movie is a movie that resonates and is a movie that sticks around longer than you expect?
Right.
And you're like, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not Driving Miss Daisy. It's not some movie that's sort of like that you like. Oh, it's critically acclaimed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what they meant the symbolism here for this one. You're like, no, this is all pretty straightforward.
But it does seep in, and any movie that seeps in and sort of sticks around is worth noting. And the fact that people remember Show Nuff, and now that Denise Matthews has passed away, like everybody is talking about. The Last Dragon again.
Right.
I think that you have to say like, well, it has some cultural resonance. It's important to note.
Yeah, it's absolutely has made its mark as a cult classic, or even some people like to refer to it as so bad it's good.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think that this movie was even nominated for a couple of Razzies. But I think it was just for the worst songs, which is the song that she sings, "A Seventh Heaven Business."
Right, but then there's the DeBarge song,
right,
that's
which
in
was
here.
like that was the jam in 85, 86. That DeBarge.
B94 on the air
Yes.
all the time.
So, all right, let's go into some of our main characters and actors. So we have Timac, who plays Leroy Green, and Timac, he wasn't an actor. I think that he was hired. He got this role because of his martial arts skills.
Right. So this is his first role, and one of the things that I find myself watching throughout the movie, because I know it's his first role, is I'm watching to see him grow as an actor.
Right.
And we know that movies are not shot in order.
Right.
And we know that they are not shot in a day.
Right.
So you can see this guy have scenes where he feels very comfortable and other scenes where he looks like maybe he's still trying to find his character a little
Right.
bit. And so that's definitely part of his thing. But the thing about the mid 80s is that we know that the culture right now is looking for the next Bruce Lee, right? And they don't totally know who it is, but at this time there are lots of really old karate movies. You can find them on TV late at night on really weird channels.
Right.
So where the sync is not right, and everybody's looking for who this person's going to be. So you've got Karate Kid the year before this movie. You've got They Call Me Bruce a couple years before that. And those some aspect of Bruce Lee is sort of in here.
Yeah.
And so Taimak is a logical choice. He's still around.
Yeah, he is. And I'm not exactly sure. I meant to look and see what it is he's doing right now. But ever so often, I want to say maybe a few years ago, I saw him pop up on some TV show just randomly. And it's just oh, okay, well, he still looks great. And, I'm sure he's still doing his martial arts. But yeah, he was also kind of I think they were wanting him to be the next Bruce Lee at that time because he had the skills, the martial arts skills. They were doing the whole, the martial arts movie, and he was also a heartthrob Like he was like that's what he was all over like the magazines at that point in time, like the Right On and the Bop and Teen
Oh,
Beat and
really?
stuff like yeah he was. And now that I think about it, now that I say it out loud, that's probably why I was drawn to this movie. I probably had a crush on Time at 9 years old.
Well, I certainly had a crush on Vanity, and I still do. I think that girl was
Yeah.
so beautiful,
Yeah.
like amazingly beautiful, and I'm was saddened by that sort of drug use did so much to her life. But
Right.
that's the other thing that when I watch this movie that I'm always sort of conscious of is like, when I'm watching Vanity's performance, like, is today a day that maybe she's not totally
Right.
with it? I mean, maybe that's being inconsiderate. Like that you can't like even if drug use is part of your routine, that you can't show up to work and do your job.
Right. No. Yeah. I've known a few actors that, and when you say that, you're like, yo, I'm looking to see if like this is today a good day for her. While they were filming and whatnot. And I found myself doing the same thing, knowing that people were like, actors were struggling with like all this with drug or alcohol abuse at this point in time when they were creating this, television show or movie or whatnot. And I'm looking to see like, as after the fact, I go back and I'm watching like, well, was this like a rough day for them, or was this like, were they on or were they off, or like what was going on here? And sometimes you can see it, but sometimes they're so good, and I guess that's also a characteristic of drug abusers or alcohol abusers, that they are good at hiding that drug usage from just in life, just from family and friends. So you don't really know.
Well, at this point, you don't know. Is this when it was bad and somebody's forced to do it, or is this when somebody's doing it and it's part of their good time?
Right.
And like I would say that there was one scene that I was watching in the movie, like, and I don't know if we want to talk about any individual scenes yet, but there's like a part where she comes to him and says like, "Hey, I think I need a bodyguard.
Yeah.
And you got a great body."
Right.
And that scene, like when she comes in and her smile is like a little extra big and she
Yeah.
seems a little
Extra flirty.
extra
Lucy.
flirty. I mean, I do get it. Like her outfit sort of like would play into that.
Mm.
Like, so maybe part of it was like she's looking at herself and going like, they put me in this outfit. They've obviously taped this top to my body.
Right. They want me to sex it up a bit here.
So she's playing the game, you
Yeah.
know. So it's questionable. Like, is this a day where maybe, was drug use some part of it, or absolutely not? You
Right.
know, like I came and I did my job, and that's my personal business.
Yeah. That's true. So, speaking of Vanity, she plays Laura, who is like a local, I don't even want to say local, but she's a VJ.
She's a VJ, but I think she's a national act.
Yeah, it's more national, and apparently she's like this is getting your music video on her show is the big deal, and it's like and it's also with like, I guess it would be like TRL or something like that if TRL was a dance club. Also,
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing, there were shows like this in the 80s. I remember a show that was like this on MTV at some point in the 80s.
okay,
And I don't remember the name of it. But the thing to keep in mind now is there's no internet. There's no so your major outlet is television.
right.
So if you want to reach the world, this is how you do it.
Right. And it's
So-
also like the explosion at the time period of music videos. This is
Yeah.
like, the inception time of MTV. And so it's just like, oh my God, we've got this new thing now. Let's do this. Like, it's all on hyperdrive. So
Which brings up an interesting point. Like the Barges song is so popular, and it was released with the movie.
right.
But then he's not actually in the movie.
No.
It's just his music video.
That's just the video. So yeah, and Laura is also, turns out she ends up being, the love interest and whatnot. And we also have Christopher Murney playing Eddie Arcadia, who is the music promoter, and he's got a musical act that he wants Laura to play this music video on her show. And it's not a very good musical act, but
Well,
it's
you know,
very
it's
80s.
It sort of reminds me of like Cyndi Lauper,
Yeah.
but just a little bit of an older version, a little bit not quite as cool Cyndi
Yeah,
Lauper kind
absolutely.
of. And I do like the person who plays his girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but I found her performance to be over the top, and the whole movie's over the top.
Right.
But I liked her scenes and I liked her performance. I thought she was pretty interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we get to the scene where she breaks up with Eddie, when she calls everything off. And
Yeah.
she's like, she basically finds herself. and gets a little more, get a little more strength. Her name is Faith Prince.
Faith
and
Prince.
She plays Angela Verico.
What else did she got? What else did she act in? Did she,
Let's see.
Did she do much else?
She was in a movie called Picture Perfect with Jennifer Aniston in '97.
So she's kept working.
Yeah. It looks like. Let's see here. Oh, she was on an episode of the TV show Gallivant that's on the air now.
So she's still working. She's a working actor.
Scream Queens.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I mean,
several episodes of Melissa and Joey. I've never seen that show.
Oh, I know what it is.
That's
That's Melissa Joan Hart and
Joey Lawrence.
Joey Lawrence.
Oh, she was even on an episode of Mad Men. So yeah, she's done a lot of television series lately, and she's been doing a lot.
In this movie, The Last Dragon, this is a New York City based film. It was shot in New York City. It's sort of some part of New York City culture seeps into this movie.
Yeah, it definitely uses New York is definitely a character in this film. And we also have Julius J. Carey III playing Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem.
And he learned martial arts for the movie.
Really?
Yeah, he did not know, he was not a martial artist before this film, but he made a significant effort to get up to speed. And he acted in a lot of, he was a working actor for a long time, mostly in comedy roles, but a pretty impressive guy. And I think this is his, he plays roles in a lot of other things, but to me, this is the thing.
This is the one.
This is
the defining role.
I'm surprised that he didn't get asked to play this role more often. Like other people didn't come to him and say like, "Hey, I need you to will you play Shonuff?"
Yeah, because it's a big dude too. Like I don't know if Timac is small or if he's just a really big dude because he just looks so it's extra. He's extra menacing. He's probably like 6'2", 6'3", like big dude, and like those giant shoulder pad things that he's wearing. Like
well,
I'm assuming that's like part of a football player thing.
Well, at one point they were wearing. For martial artists, there's point sparring pads.
Okay.
Which are pads you wear over your hands and over your feet, and you can wear. They make a helmet. And I took martial arts in the 80s and 90s for a little while. I never got the black belt or anything like that, but I did do it. And so some of those pads are the standard kind of pad. But then like you would see they had turned it into like shoulder pads for him, which is completely illogical.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
But it's hilarious. It's awesome. And then you see at one point somebody wearing an actual head sparring helmet, but they're wearing it weird. Like they're using it probably more to like block the face of the actor so that they can have the actor do multiple fights.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just his whole crew, their whole getup. It's just like, God, how long does it take you guys to get ready in the morning? It's like.
But did you notice? So the scene when he shows up in the movie theater, which is his big introduction, he's obviously desperate to fight anyone,
right?
Which is like completely opposite of what martial arts tells you.
Right.
But the interesting part is he says in there that he's back, which I find interesting. Why is he? Where is he back from? He said,
that's never really explored. That's never really explained.
I'm expecting a prequel.
Yes,
the prequel when we need it.
Shonuff's Lament.
Shonuff like coming into power. Shonuff like assuming like it's a negative character arc like Empire.
Right. Yes. So that makes absolute sense to me. I would love to see a prequel.
I'm ready to make that movie. I'm ready.
And so randomly we also have I forgot to find out what the little boy's name was that plays his brother, Richie, he's the cool one in the family apparently, or at least Richie seems to think so.
I think it's a fair statement. While you're looking up info on Richie, of course, there's the little sister who was on the Cosby Show.
Yes, Keisha Knight Pulliam.
Yeah,
which is just random. Okay, Leo O'Brien plays Richie Green, and
what did he go on to do? I mean, he must have done a bunch of stuff.
He was in New Jack City.
Oh wow.
Some awful looking movie called Rappin'.
Oh, Rappin'? Wait, no, Rappin's not a horrible movie.
Is it with Mario Van Peebles?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, like I don't think they're connected, Rappin' and Breakin'.
No, I don't think so. Although it kind of seems like they should be.
But I remember Rappin'. Rappin' was a good film. It was a 80s film. Changed my life, of course.
Well, it doesn't look. It doesn't look like he did much of anything else. Like after New Jack City, he did a couple episodes of Law and Order in 1990, but that was it. That was like the last thing that he has here as an acting.
Well,
credit.
if he's New York City based, I think it's like a rite of passage. If you're a New York City based actor, you have to act in Law and Order.
Right.
Like, when is your episode?
Absolutely, yes. It's kind of like, you know, that and Jury Duty. You get the two in the mail around the same time. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be on Law and Order, or Jury Duty. We also have William H. Macy shows up.
He does. He shows up for only one scene.
That's it. And he's like, I don't even know, what is he, like the stage manager or a producer of the show, or I don't know. He's there barking orders at Laura for a scene.
And Laura just doesn't listen.
No, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
She has no time. And Danny Aiello.
Oh yeah, he just has a very tiny part, doesn't he?
Well, Danny Aiello is the goon, is Eddie's right hand.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, I thought that was somebody else.
Oh, and Chaz Palminteri, who has a very small scene. He's the
That's
fake
what I
limo driver.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like this was the first time I noticed that he was there. I was like, oh my God, that's Chaz Palminteri with this ginormous mustache. What is happening right now? So yeah, so it's interesting to see like those people, like Danny, William H. Macy, Chaz in this movie. And this was like among, I don't think it's William H. Macy's, but like Chaz, I think it's like the second credited film that he's ever done or something like that.
Well, I think the interesting thing to note with this movie is sometimes you'll see monochromatic casts, right?
Mm.
We've seen casts where it's all white people.
Mm.
We've seen casts where it's a world where it's all African American people.
Right.
This cast is really
A melting pot.
a real cross cultural kind of cast, and I don't know that was done without thought. I think that part of that was on purpose.
I'm pretty sure it was. I mean, because it paints a better picture, especially being in New York. It's set in New York City. Of course, it's not going to be like all blacks, all whites, or all, you know. It just makes sense. And yeah, and that's another thing that I do appreciate about this film is that yeah, it's all over the board, and you've just got all sorts of ages and types and races and cultures. It's great the way that they go about this.
And culture is an important sort of like undercurrent discussion in the film.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of I don't know if cultural appropriation is too strong for this, but I mean Leroy specifically, like he has absolutely just honed in on this Chinese culture, and that's to the point where he's not even just, you know, studying martial arts, and he's not even just like in the specific spiritual way, but he is like wearing the garb. He is only eating with chopsticks. He is, you know, referring to Papa San, Mama San.
Yeah. His accent is particularly different from the rest of his family.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's, you know, and that's something that kind of pulls me out too. I don't know if it's a cadence that he's working with, but he kind of sounds like. And obviously it has to be on purpose on Leroy's part, but that he's emulating what an Asian person would sound like if they were born in Asia, and it almost sounds like he's speaking broken English.
Well,
very not even broken, but maybe like
it's really
deliberate.
Yeah, deliberate, clean.
Yeah.
Clean English. No consonants or no nothing is rounded off.
Right.
Where you find out, like with his younger brother, things are rounded off with his father.
Right. No
things are
slang, no contractions, no, you know, everything is just very deliberate.
But I wonder if that's Timok's background a little. I don't know what his his cultural background, where he grew up is, and you can try to you can try to take that out with a seasoned actor, but with a beginner actor, trying to get them to change the way they speak, sometimes that's very difficult. It's very time consuming.
Interesting.
And the nature of production doesn't allow for that kind of thing.
Right.
You're on a schedule.
Yeah, I can only imagine they had probably like, I don't know, 30 days maybe to make this film, if that. Like, I don't see them having that much of a budget, or, well, I don't know. I mean, this is considered Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Oh yeah,
So
and well, you see Barry Gordy's hand in the music,
absolutely.
yeah, and it's good music.
Oh yeah, it's a great soundtrack. You know, just Motown all up in there, and he's loving it. And it said, I think I read that he would frequently visit the film set with Motown artists, and I don't know if they were like, I don't know why, but you know, just because he could, I guess. That's if there was like an artistic thing about that, or what. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, we could just like kind of dive into any noteworthy scenes or
Well,
anything that you've got. Are you a martial arts movie fan to begin with?
You know, I like martial arts films.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't seek them out,
Mm,
especially.
right.
Like I'm a quirky movie fan, and I'm when it comes to cult movies, I'm a big cult movie fan. So
Gotcha.
like, my bedrock is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, that's where I start,
Right.
and I've done more in the Rocky Horror Picture Show than anything else. I spent 16 years like
Ooh.
acting in casts. I met my wife at Rocky Horror, like
Huh.
everything that you can do at Rocky. So when I hear the term cult movie,
Uh-huh.
I latch on. Like
Gotcha.
that's me. You know,
That's
any kind
that's
of
where you
weird-
live.
that's where I live. So but you know, I like this film, and there you know, when you mention martial arts films or action films,
Mm.
like I recently was watching like a video on the internet talking about Jackie Chan,
Mhm.
and how Jackie was able to keep longer shots because he's an amazing martial artist.
Mhm.
So he doesn't have to cut away. He doesn't have to cut the close-ups. He can do
Gotcha.
extended sequences,
Wow.
and you can just stay on one shot. And that's one thing that Jackie's a big fan of,
Huh.
because he says, look, and if you really want to see it, if you want to see something that somebody else can't do that he can do,
Mhm.
just keep the camera running, and
Wow.
he'll do it.
That's awesome.
And you see a little bit of that in this film,
Mhm.
because Timok is a real martial artist.
Right.
So so you'll see like some extended sequences throughout the film where they don't have to cut away. They're
Mhm.
not forced to.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's wonderful to see.
Yeah.
So,
One of the important things about Timok's character, about the character Leroy, is that, you know, he is so in tune with this culture, and he teaches martial arts as well to like little kids, younger kids, and he full on believes in, you know, don't fight unless you have to. Like, he's not using this as a weapon. It's just more like, you know, he really wants to keep the peace. He's very centered, and he's not trying to fight for the most part. And so and I think that's one of the things that like pisses Shonuff off completely, because when Shonuff is introduced, he's looking for anyone to fight, and some little kid in the movie theater just randomly is like, you know, Bruce Leroy is not gonna, you can't beat him, and he's just like, yo, I'm just eating my popcorn, watching the Bruce Lee movie.
well, you know, the thing is, I think that's probably the most realistic thing is
Mm.
anybody who's involved in martial arts,
Mhm.
they, especially like when I was a kid, I know I ran across this kind of thing.
Mm.
I wasn't an amazing martial artist. I'm nothing like Timok, you know. But I took the classes, and kids knew in my school that I was taking it, and some kids would try to
Provoke you.
try to provoke, and we were told at our school, like, do not
Mhm.
start a fight with anybody, and if you do, you're going to be out of these classes, because that's not what this is
Wow.
about. This is about, you know, learning how to use your body, and
Mhm.
and how to defend yourself, and defend the people that you're with, not be aggressive or
Right.
hurt somebody else. And so I found those scenes to probably be the most realistic, where he would do what he could without having to fight or hurt somebody else.
Right.
So, and you know, that scene, the first scene in the dojo,
Mm.
where he's doing his sort of, it's not a prayer, but it's sort of like his mantra,
Mhm.
and he's teaching the students. That seemed the part where Timok seemed like the most natural, because
Right.
I mean, I'm sure he lived that
Right.
so much.
That's what he's doing.
And then you hear that that mantra come back later when he's fighting by himself.
Right.
You know, he's in the dojo and he's by
That's right.
himself, and you'll hear that. Like, you have to listen closely, but when he's punching, you'll hear that
Mhm.
same mantra comes up.
Yeah. So the whole beginning of this is that his journey. He is on a journey, on a quest. His dojo master has sent him to find the glow. Is that what?
No.
Is that what is he?
So the deal is in the beginning of the movie he has completed
His training.
His training, and which he does not seem to understand.
Right.
Which makes him a little thick, and one of the problems of the film is that everybody sees it but him. Like, you see it as a viewer.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was a viewer when I was 9.
And he's just like, he really wants to continue training. He's like, are you done with me? What have I done wrong?
Yeah.
Like, why are you breaking up with me?
I only apologize for my ignorance, Master. I will do anything to prove my worthiness.
You have been to the movies again, I see. Full of disciples falling to their knees at the slightest hint of their master's displeasure. Leroy, this is not a punishment. It is a celebration. You have touched the final level. You knew without knowing. We have finished our journey together.
But, Master, the final level, the glow. You always said that
when you reached the final level, you would know it by the appearance of a sublime glow all over your body. Come, Leroy. Get up. What you seek is not written on the floor. The final level is a return to the beginning. This is the last dragon. A cycle is complete. And now, there is a new emptiness to be filled. A new journey, which you must make alone.
I am confused.
Good, good. Confusion is a part of life, as are vengeance, fear, and love. All facets must be embraced. For then, and only then, will you break through the wall of mystery to the glow.
When in fact, nobody's done with him.
Right.
He's just done training. He's got to go off and do it himself now.
Right.
Become his own master.
Yeah,
It's
so
inside him.
yes, exactly. So that his dojo master is like, he sends him on this quest, just like, all right, fine. If you need something to do,
He gives him a belt buckle. He said, "Here's this gold belt buckle, and now you can go look for I think it's like the dojo, like his master, his initial master tells him to go look for Sundangai."
Yes.
Or something. When he says it like this.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, okay. But of course,
this is serious.
This is serious. And then later, of course, somebody says it who doesn't have such a thick accent. Some dumb guy.
Yes.
You find out throughout the course of the film that it's actually this fortune cookie machine.
Right.
That makes the fortune cookies.
You've been had, basically. Leroy was took. So, he ends up finding out that, all this power and everything was inside of him the whole time. And so it was supposed to be like it ended up being a spiritual quest. And it's exactly what I guess he needed. He needed something a little more measured for him to be able to figure out, I've already grown inside of myself kind of thing.
But what it really needs is confidence, right?
Right, exactly. And, he's got his brother who was like, this hip cat dude, and he's kind of embarrassed of his brother, which I'm assuming is his older brother, but like the dynamic between them, he seems like the older brother, Richie does. But
this dynamic that, you have to, that you just need confidence is a running theme throughout 80s films.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is all you need.
They were trying to give us more confidence in the 80s.
Yeah. And you have to go to the beat of your own drum and get more confidence. And that's pretty much, if you could do that, you're well on your way
Golden.
to making an amazing 80s movie.
Absolutely. So, Leroy has saved Laura from, because she wasn't playing this guy's music video. He's turned aggressive and is trying to kidnap her. Tried to kidnap her once. Leroy saves her. He kidnaps her again. Leroy comes and saves her. And so in turn, she is like in awe of him, and she wants him to be her bodyguard. And
Well, I think she wants more than a bodyguard.
yeah, she wants him to more than guard her body,
But I
like
think
to
that
guide her body.
This is sort of an interesting conundrum, right? Because you say like, well, what is their chemistry? What do they have going on? What is their commonality?
Right.
There is none.
No.
Like, they have nothing in common except for the fact that they think each other is hot.
Right.
Which, I will admit at some level is enough, right?
Right. So-
You're like, hey, why do I like this person? Well, I want to get to know them, but I don't know them yet. But
Right.
I do think they're really hot, and I'd like to make out.
Right. That is my end game right now. So if we find out that we both like, salami, then sure, we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, and that brings up an interesting point. Like, do they exist? Like, when the movie ends,
Yeah, when it's over,
do
are they still
get
together?
married and like keep together?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No,
like-
because I see him trying to change her into a little more of a calm, or there's too much trying to change each other, I think. And she's trying to push him into a world where I don't think he wants to be. And he's trying to like bring her down or bring her into his world where it wouldn't be enough for her. Like she still needs that spotlight, I think. So I think maybe I would give them like 6 months.
Yeah, give them 6
Two-
months. I don't
6
think they're
months
moving in together.
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No, because I don't know what kind of job he's gonna get. I mean, he's got the dojo,
Right.
so he can make money, working at the dojo.
He can.
Yeah,
But it's definitely a different lifestyle than she's used to.
right. I mean, I think one of the parables of his lifestyle is living humbly,
Right.
which is the opposite of like having your own TV show and
Right.
saying, "Look at me, look at me."
Yeah, exactly. Having people, doing your hair and your makeup and driving you around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's absolutely different. And yeah, I just don't think that he would get down like that.
But I think that brings up an interesting point about the Laura character. From like when you try to put on your like feminist viewpoint, headgear and say like, how is this movie from a feminist viewpoint? And it sort of really fails.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she does have original thoughts, right? And she does push her own opinion when she's forced to, but physically it's as if she has absolutely no strength in her body at all to
Right.
fight back.
Right. There is at no point does she even try to fight back or save herself.
Right.
And that's I guess a lot of times typical 80s movies or whatever with a lot of typical action movies, but yeah, that is a bothersome aspect of her character where I'm concerned. And yeah, because he just kind of lets it all happen and just hopes that he's going to come and protect her, and when he does and she gets all giddy and oh my god, he takes off the mask and oh, it's Leroy. So-
I mean, I do get it, like somebody, yeah, I mean, there's some aspect of like when you do, like you want to be the hero. They want to have a hero that's really clear. And the good guys and bad guys, there's no gray
right.
here.
No.
Although I will say there is one minor aspect of grayness. Shonuff will not accept money. I mean, he's the Shogun of Harlem.
Right.
Harlem,
What else are you doing?
Yeah. Money is not really great in Harlem.
Right.
It's pretty obvious when you walk around the streets. You see how it's going.
It's not so much payment in being the Shogun of Harlem.
So, like, he just like doesn't want the money. Like,
That's really yeah.
um,
Yeah, is it just the fact that was that just the point for us to make that he just really wants to kick off in Leroy's ass this badly that he's like, I won't even take payment. But I almost feel like it was a bonus, like because he was gonna pay you anyway. So I mean, you were gonna fight him anyway, so you might as well get a little cash for it.
yeah, I mean, it's obvious that Timok is on this like journey to become like the best martial artist he can be. That's his goal. That's
Right.
his overall goal. And then you've got like, what is Shonuff's goal? To like beat everybody's ass that he can. Like he does not want to leave any asses unkicked. Not a single one.
No.
And so like, but his quest isn't like Timok. Like you find out later that he has the glow already.
Right.
But that two glows
evil glow.
cannot maintain. But let's talk about the glow for a second.
Yes, the two glows cannot exist in one dojo.
I mean,
Okay.
I think that the part of the reason why this movie lasts like it does is because people are excited about that glow.
Right.
And LMFAO, that the band
Right.
mentions it in a lyric.
Right.
Recently, what song was that?
There's that
Party Rockin' or
Party Wagon or the party. Yeah, I think it's parties. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
one of those things. They
So-
had like 2 songs, I think.
So they even mention it.
I'm
that-
in Miami, bitch, and Party Rocker or something.
But what's exciting about the glow is that it's a very simple effect. Really, it's rotoscope, it's hand drawn on, and most of it still looks great.
Right.
So when you watch it now, there's a couple green screen shots where you're like, sort of cut out, not so great. But the actual glow, like when I watch that, I'm like, man, that still looks cool.
Right?
It still looks so cool.
Yes, I absolutely found myself getting hyped up. Like the closer I got to that part of the film, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is happening. It's time for the glow. It's coming." But yeah, it's like it's a real climactic moment in the film, and it's still that portion still holds up for me today. Like what, 31 years later, and yeah, and it's still like gets that same like pump. It's like yeah, it's awesome, and the bad guy loses, good guy wins, but that glow business, and it's still another thing that you can just say the glow to somebody today and they'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're like, you still wish, like,
Right.
if you have to lay a smackdown on somebody,
Right.
you're hoping that you will glow.
Can I please? Just a little.
But I want to glow red. I don't want to glow yellow. I mean, I think the red glow that Show Enough has is way cooler looking.
It makes a bigger statement.
Yeah, it really does. So, I mean, like, but then it's right, the things that take me out of the movie, like right after that scene, right? So the good guy defeats the bad guy. They're in a random building somewhere.
Right.
The cops are magically there. And not only the cops, but the TV show people are there.
Yes.
And the makeup person has lines like, how am I supposed to get you ready in
Right.
time?
So, okay. So you mean to tell me that somebody somewhere not only called the police to get there, but they have also alerted Laura's makeup team.
Who's not concerned for her. Not like,
No.
hey, are you okay?
Right. What the hell happened?
No questions at all. Oh my goodness, I won't be able to get you ready in time. Now, I will admit, we have seen them leave the building that the TV show is in, and we know that they are in a very close building nearby.
Okay, yes.
So in the story world, we know that.
Yeah.
And then if you do the research, if you look on like Wikipedia or something, you'll see that they're in an old wire factory. They shot
Okay.
that scene in an old wire factory.
Okay.
In New York City, which does look super cool. I love old factories.
Oh yeah, it makes for a great set. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially for like a fights, martial arts fight scene. Yes, absolutely. When there's glow, of course. The guy's gonna catch a bullet with his teeth. Yes. Let's do this in an old
Slow motion
factory.
water. Slow
Yes.
motion. There's not enough good male slow motion water trail scenes in movies, so this one succeeds there.
So you did mention we were talking a little bit about the the strong female or lack thereof,
I mean, there is a minorly strong female,
Right.
which is Eddie's girlfriend,
right. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about was that her portion. She seems like she's kind of like a dumb like a ditzy kind of broad, blah blah blah. But then there's a point where she's had enough of what's going on with Eddie and that he's trying to kill Leroy in her honor, in her name, and she's like, well, I don't really want that. And I don't want all this stuff. I don't want my music to be played that badly. And he's like fighting her. And so she basically she breaks it down to him like, you know what, he tries to belittle her by telling her where she's from. And, like she's like a failed dental hygienist or, and she's like, you know what, well, basically fuck you. You are also from the same small little neighborhood that I'm from. And you're also getting by on my tits. So, and then she leaves, and it was just a great moment to be in the film.
It was a great moment. It's a great moment in the movie, but it derails the structure of the film. And the issue is at that point, now, what is Eddie's goal?
Well, it's just, I think at this point, to me, it makes it seem like his goal all along is just pride. Laura has had the nerve to say no to him, and Leroy has had the nerve to humiliate him with the whole piranha tank incident. And so now, he wanted to say like, yeah, I'm doing this for you, baby, blah blah blah. I want to get your music played, but it's really about he's butthurt. They hurt his feelings.
They hurt his feelings, but now he has no overall goal. You know what I mean? Like his goal of like, well, what do you want to do now? Do you like want to get your
just wanna
music?
kill him.
Yeah, you want to kill him, but like, how does that further your like life goal? Like,
Nothing.
you're like your life goal is over. Like you got no girl, she's got no music, so you can get these like 1 or 2 music videos played on a loop.
Right, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and so you see like they're like right before the the big battle, not the last battle, but the big battle right before that. There's like a music video on the screen.
Right.
Like, I wonder who her representation is. I don't remember who that was. It looked like it looked a little bit like Princess Leia, but it wasn't. But I do want to talk about that fight scene.
Okay.
Because I found that fight scene to be really amazing.
The one in the club?
The one in the club. All these different henchmen.
Yes.
So there's a scene before that where they're having like
Tryouts?
yeah, tryouts. And they've got resumes. and it's a very brief scene, but it's so good.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect, especially like the guy who's just barking and growling.
Yeah, so I love
just
that.
Like, chops the table in half. He's like, "Oh, give him what he wants."
So then those guys come back for this epic brawl, which really is used to get Bruce Leroy to start actually fighting bad guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
To help push him further. Like,
Right.
you're gonna fight a bunch of people now, and you're gonna like it,
Right.
and he does,
Right.
And then his buddies come and help.
Which is amazing.
But-
And that little kid.
Oh, that little kid, he's been in a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is that did you notice how some of the bad guys are wearing masks to sort of like so that they can either be multiple bad guys,
Yes.
or so that they're actually good guys and bad guys in
Right.
different shots.
Yes, I noticed. I was like, "Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. We didn't want to pay that many extras."
So I feel like the movie at this point is sort of like, Eddie, the Eddie character. He has the way he has come to have money is through video games.
Right.
And what you're seeing is this like this like New York City culture mixed with this music video culture,
Right.
mixed with like martial arts culture, and then bringing up the rear is video game culture.
Yeah.
And so like I was thinking to myself, like, is this a precursor to other video game movies that came after it?
Quite possible. I mean, yeah, ish. Yeah, I totally see that. Like it, if you think about it, that scene in the club is like a video game with like, okay, your one goal is to fight these guys, these bad guys. I mean, you've got like the hyper with the neon and everything is going on in the background. You've got the videos playing also and the music, and yeah, it's very video game like. It's like, okay, I finished that one. Here comes the next one. I finished that guy. Here comes the next bad guy.
And then for a little while there, you lose track almost of Time Walk, and it becomes like these secondary characters, some of which you barely know.
Right.
But it becomes their movie almost for a second. Like,
Yeah.
There's the guy who maybe isn't that good of a martial artist, but likes
The nunchucks.
Yeah, the nunchucks. Which actually, nunchucks are a very difficult instrument to use.
I would imagine.
In hurting somebody else. And that's what Bruce Lee was particularly good at, was using the nunchucks, because you've got to get them to swing in the right way at the right time to hit somebody at the right moment. And so it's a particularly difficult instrument to use as a weapon.
Right.
And so he's supposed to be a character who's not very good at martial arts.
Right.
And you see him like he's like in an earlier scene, he's just making noises.
Right. He's like, they see an Asian guy and just make noises and flail and scream, and then they won't want to fight you.
And then he gets beat in like one hit. So flash forward, it's probably been a day.
Right.
And now he gets his first, he hits somebody hard enough to knock him down. Then it's like, oh, look, I'm pretty good. Look, I'm okay. And Time Walk's like, yeah.
Like, get him, Johnny.
Get him, Johnny. And then less than a minute later, now he's using one of the hardest weapons to use.
He's
nunchucks,
killing it.
And he's just like, he's owning them like multiple guys. And you're like, okay, this is the world that doesn't exist in real life.
Right. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
take me on this journey.
Yeah,
I
take me
will
on this
go.
journey. Yeah.
I will fall into this belief. So, I mean, this is just a fun movie all around. And were there any other scenes that you wanted to get into?
Here, let me take a look at my notes here. I noticed that in sort of like one of the bigger battle scenes, the use of breakdancing.
Oh,
So you got there's like a little Asian boy who's like very good. The one who's in multiple movies that his
Right.
name I can't remember. So he uses breakdancing just for a second, just to allude,
Just a
like,
little bit.
just to say like, hey, I'm cool. I wanted to get just a little bit of break-in into our movie, and then his brother is sort of like breakdancing his way out of ropes.
Yes, he is pop locking out of being he's tied up and like pop locking his way out of that. And after a while, it became gratuitous. Like, all right, you could have absolutely just pulled it off now. But speaking of like the breakdancing, this movie is, you know, absolutely a period piece. Because
Yes.
there is so much. This is the most 80s a movie has ever 80s ever. Like, it's just like everything from the clothes, the breakdancing, the boom boxes, the music videos, the neon, it's the shoulder pads, the makeup, the hair. It's just like 80s. If anyone was like, what was 1985 like? Watch The Last Dragon. That's
I don't know that it was really like this, but you can watch it.
for the most part. Like, it's like that's absolutely a period piece.
Yeah.
Like
I would love to see this movie done in a Rocky Horror fashion with callbacks
Oh,
in a
wow.
movie theater.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to see it because, you know, like callback artists. I don't know if you know about callback artists.
Well,
Like,
explain.
all right, so when you see Rocky Horror,
Mhm.
people will call things out in the audience
Mhm.
and make jokes that sometimes the movie will answer. It'll go back and forth.
Okay.
So somebody will say a line in the movie, and then you'll make a joke about that, or you make a joke about a person who will then
Okay.
come on screen.
Oh, okay.
Or like you'll be like, "Hey, watch out!" and then somebody will get hit. And you'll be like, "Haha, I told you." You know. And so you make little jokes that sort of like work so that you try to create a seamless connection between
Okay.
like the audience and the screen.
Nice.
And then like Rocky Horror, it's the stage, the screen, and the audience, right? Because
Okay.
there's people. So I would love to see this movie shadowcast.
Oh yeah.
So it's acted out on stage, and then callbacks from the audience, and then happening on screen at the same time. And I would be willing to, play Shown Up. I just want you to know, you can't see me. I
Just
don't
putting
look.
it out there.
I don't look anything like Shown Up. I'm ready to do it. I'm going all the way. I'll get the outfit. I'll wear the
You're
shoulder
absolutely
pads.
tall enough to do it.
Yeah, tall enough.
That would be really interesting to see, especially because there are so many, like, because music is so important, plays so heavily in this film that it's not musical, but there are enough musical numbers that, like, if you were to have a shadow cast, that'd be just amazing to see them do some choreography, like to Seventh Heaven.
Well, and, you know, I've done shadow casts to like Clue, and
Really?
there's no music in Clue. Well,
Right.
I guess, you know, I am your singing telegram, and then she gets shot. You know, and in this movie, of course, you know, Vanity. It's interesting because Vanity sings a song.
Hmm. I think she wrote it too.
but she doesn't actually hold a microphone when she sings the song.
No.
So and then she's handed a microphone. So it's
What
so
were we doing?
wasn't necessary because we live in a music video world where music videos are more important than real life. You know?
There was a lot of lip syncing.
Yeah.
So as a shadow cast, so and I didn't. Okay, so you've explained that, you know, it's not necessarily just a musical that
Yeah.
they do. So what other things would they do? I haven't seen a Rocky Horror in its entirety with a shadow cast.
The only way to see it, you can't actually see Rocky Horror at home.
Mm.
You can't experience
Makes
it.
no sense. It's bullshit.
It totally is. It's not a complete experience.
Uh-huh.
And this film, I think, is a complete experience at home. You know,
Right.
Although it would be a double experience if you saw it in the movie theater
Right.
with other people, right? And then they started yelling out jokes. You know,
So I know there's things like, you know, toast. They throw toast.
they do. They throw props, and
Uh-huh.
those what you can throw sort of varies from theater to theater. So you used
Okay.
to be able to throw hot dogs in some theaters, but not surprisingly,
that got a little gross.
that
after a
got gross.
while.
It's nothing like being pelted in the back of your head by a very wet, like with the
Ew.
water in there. There used to be a lot of water in your dog,
Gross.
and you like get that, and you're like, ugh. That's been me. I've been that guy. Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
So the shout or call out artists, are they out the whole time, the entirety of the movie? Or
Oh yeah, it's happening in
just-
the audience. It's different people yelling.
Oh,
things.
so they're just like, you got plants in the audience.
Well, plants, but the entire audience is doing it.
Okay.
The entire audience knows some of them,
Okay.
and then some people are just very good at it and working really hard, and
Gotcha.
other people are just sort of like saying the normal ones.
Gotcha.
So, but for this film, I think that there's definitely room for that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, so So yeah, I like this movie. The thing that I want to come back to for a second, if you wouldn't mind,
Oh, sure.
is there is a scene where he comes and he meets these Asian guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they are playing. So they're not playing Asian stereotypes, right?
No.
They're playing, like, I would say, an urban stereotype.
Right.
And he is and Timok is sort of fulfilling the Asian stereotype.
Right.
So the Asian stereotype doesn't know anything about being cool, and then these Asian guys know everything about, or they want to know everything about
Right.
being cool.
What y'all looking for?
I am looking for the master.
Ain't no masters here, dude. Ain't no slaves either.
Is this not his fortune cookie factory?
The master, he doing his wisdom thing.
I seek only wisdom of the master.
You want wisdom? You buy fortune cookie.
Take a hike, cool breeze.
Yeah, baby.
Please, I must see the master. It is very important to me.
Look here, chump. The master don't see nobody, especially no jive coolies.
Yeah, he don't see no one who don't know how to get down, baby.
Right,
You
down.
dig, bro? You too square, man.
Well,
Let me say it so he can understand it, Jim. You go now. Chop, chop. Holy ass out of this place. Am I saying right, my man? That's good.
And that sort of scene sort of drives to this undercurrent of like there is this cultural aspect of the film, and it does not get in the way of the comedy.
Right.
You know, the comedy is the most important thing, this hyper reality. That's what this movie's about.
Uh-huh.
But there's this other undercurrent where it's like, where I thought that this movie did it better than They Call Me Bruce, where you had They Call Me Bruce, where they, you know, the lead character in They Call Me Bruce is, he is, some of those things are not necessarily good
Okay.
in how they handle culture.
Gotcha.
They're almost sort of like, they're almost making fun of a culture, and I don't like it. Even though I know that the
Right.
filmmakers are Asian Americans and they're making fun of sort of Asian and Asian American stereotypes,
Right.
but they're doing it in a way that doesn't like further an understanding
Gotcha.
of what the real people are like.
Right.
Where I felt like this film sort of like it rides that sort of like that line a little bit, but ends up staying on the good side of it.
Yeah. Truth. Yeah. You're the three guys that he comes and he encounters, where they're the ones at the cookie factory, I guess.
Yes.
And
he comes a couple times.
yeah, and they lure him in, or they, you know, he thinks he thinks they are the ones who hold the key to, you know, finding his master or whatever. But they are like, you know, they're that Harlem, you know, urban cool is what they're doing. They're like, you know, singing like Suki, like whatever, some sort of soul or song, and they're up there doing like the four top moves and, you know, like Temptations and
And they're
stuff.
trying really
Yes,
hard.
they are really at it. I think even one of them is wearing like African hat. I don't know exactly what they're called. I forget what they're called, but
like a Rastafarian kind of.
well, not Rastafarian, just more like it's almost like a beanie, but it's you find it in a lot of African tribes.
Oh, okay.
So they're like really trying it, and so yeah, I mean, and they are even questioning him for his interest and his embracement of the Asian culture, and they're like, you know, making fun of him. They're taking his hat, like his,
Yeah, because he's wearing a pretty extreme hat too.
right.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, they're trying to teach him how to be cool, and then there's a point where he's like, you know, they're playing craps or something, I think.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to play craps.
Right, he doesn't know how to play craps, and he tricks them into thinking that hopscotch is like the real cool, like, black game to play on the
But
streets.
they don't. They actually. They're like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Okay." You know, like, all right, maybe I just don't know. You know. So I found that that aspect sort of, you know, that those scenes for me were interesting, a little uncomfortable.
A little bit. I mean, they weren't, like you said, they were like on they're riding that wave, but
But it's
it
still
wasn't
comedy.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I didn't find it offensive what they were doing at all, and it's just it's kind of typical to like, yeah, you're gonna see that. You'll see that these guys are, I'm assuming they are living in Harlem, or that's where they are. You know, they see this culture, and this is like, you know what, I like that. That's what I want to emulate. I want to get in that. I want to get into that.
Yeah.
And it's not so much, you know, I'm trying to be black. It's just more like, you know, that's what they're surrounded by. That's what they are doing, and it's also, I would imagine, Asian kids growing up in a strictly Asian household. It just kind of goes along with teenagers rebelling against what they know or what their parents want them to be or what they want to do. So, you know, I've like worked up this whole backstory on these guys.
I can see that you have, yeah.
Because I thought about it. I was like, is this offensive to me? And I'm like, no, it's not really offensive, because I mean, I get it. I get how that could happen. And it's not like, you know, they're, you know, sure, they're throwing around jive turkeys here and there, and I don't even know if that was even really used in '85 for real.
No, yeah, there's a term that comes up again that I heard a couple times, coolie, which I don't know that term well.
Yeah, like we were talking about that a little bit, and I have no idea. I can only imagine, like with them using the phrase jive turkey.
Right.
I would imagine that they have, and the music that they were listening to, I imagine that they watched old movies like Cooley High Harmony, or Cooley High. I'm confused. I was like throwing in Boys to Men's album title, just Cooley High, which is like old '70s, like Shaft or movies like that.
Right.
And so I'm imagining that's the term that they were using, that they were doing it. So I don't know what it meant in that aspect of it. If anybody out there knows what Cooley meant in the '70s.
Well, the thing is, you know, it's a Motown. So, you know, Motown is sort of like the like always hidden behind the door of this movie is like a guy who's a Motown guy, right?
Right.
That's where the money comes from.
Oh yeah, totally.
And Motown, I think of Motown as like '60s, '70s. You know, that's the heyday of Motown. But Motown, of course, was around in the '80s too. You know, I remember Motown. Wasn't Michael Jackson initially like a Motown guy? And so, you know, I remember seeing 45s. You know, the old records, and it'd say Motown on the record label.
Right.
And you would see that even in the '80s. I don't know that this. You know, I think that some aspect of this movie sort of like always has those guys in mind, like. The Motown guys and the '60s and '70s guys.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm looking at. I just kind of Googled what did Cooley mean in the '70s, and it's really not helping. So if anybody really knows, I'll call my mom and ask her later.
I noticed Shonough's assistants, of course. I didn't catch the women's names, unfortunately, but the guys, Crush, Beast, and Psycho.
Yeah.
You know,
just keeping it simple, man. Just there's no need for, you know, extra special like underlying meanings. No, just put it out there.
Yeah.
Crush, Beast, and Psycho.
And I'll admit, so when you asked me to do this, I told you something on Facebook that I actually would like to make my son's middle name Shonuff. If we have another son, so we have my wife and I have one boy right now. He has a very normal name. It's Patrick Eugene.
Okay.
So very normal names. The next, if we have if we have another boy, when we have another child, we're not ready for that yet. But when it happens, if we have a boy, his name is going to be Calexico Shonuff. So it'd be Cole.
What does your wife think of this?
She's on board. She's on board. I don't know if she's actually seen the movie.
Calexico
Shonuff. And it's not based on there's like a band that's sort of like Calexico, and then there was a guy who was a Steeler whose name wasn't Plexico, which is sort of close, but that's not really it. I just like that name. It would be called Cole. The boy would be called Cole most of the time, which is a pretty classy name.
Right.
But the Shonuff, you know, I mean, like, I think because of this movie, I think I love Shonuff. I love it whenever Shonuff comes in the very beginning and he says, "Who's the baddest mofo in all of Harlem?" You know, Shonuff, and you're like, "Yeah, that guy." Like,
I buy it.
Yeah,
I believe him.
You're like, and you're like, what's my middle name? Shonuff. That's right. But Shonuff is also sort of like, you know, like, I mean, Shonuff has a history of like. Something that somebody would say when it's true. You say,
right, yeah,
enough,
absolutely,
you know?
yeah, show enough.
Yeah, but I also think of enough said. Enough said is sort of like a comic book thing is enough said.
Okay.
So show enough is almost like a play.
Show enough said.
Show enough said. That would be like a double. Thing,
Right.
yeah.
Show enough said.
Yeah.
So he would have like he was already prepped to have like his own talk show or something like that because it could be called Show Enough Said.
Show enough said. Yeah. Show enough said. Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea is to like hide cool names inside of your name, so
Right.
that you can become different people throughout your life
Right.
without having to be forced to change your name. Like I have friends who like change their name every once in a while. They end up with a new name. They're like, don't call me that anymore. That's not my
Really?
name anymore. You know, but, my goal is to have a child who can be like Cole and then Lex and then Show Enough. And then something else that I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah. I have a friend who his middle name is Seabrook.
Oh,
And like,
that's
and I
a
think
very cool name,
right? And and his mom, like, his first name is Zach, like his Zach Seabrook. So like, his mom was already kind of thinking that she's like, and I think she even told him at some point, it's like, in case you ever want to drop your last name or, you get into show business or whatever, and you just want that name of Seabrook. That's why I gave it to you. So yeah, all right. So a couple of fun facts about this: that the introductory training sequence where he karate chops the arrow. That was done for real. That was Timac for real. It took him 2 hours to get the stunt right, but he did it for real.
2 hours would take me forever. 2 hours is nothing, right? You're
Right.
Like, it took him 2 hours. But the thing is they're probably lighting for the first 45 minutes of that.
Absolutely.
So 2 hours, you're like, whatever. That's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. The martial art that Leroy Green is teaching is Chinese Goju. It was created by Timac's instructor and close friend Ron Van Cleef. Timac also trained in Jeet Kune Do as well.
Jeet Kune Do, I believe that is that a Bruce Lee?
I think
art?
so. I feel like I heard that because that was also on that podcast that I listened to. You must remember this. There was a Bruce Lee episode about him and also Brandon Lee, and I think they were talking about Jeet Kune Do. That sounds familiar to me. Yeah, I mean that's and yes, Timac learned to act while acting and performing in the movie on the set of this picture.
Right. And I didn't do a ton of research, but none of my research indicated that there was any delay, any serious delay
in the release of the film.
No. So whenever you've got people who don't, who are learning on set, and then you've got somebody, Vanity, who maybe has drugs are part of her life.
Right.
You'll hear sometimes about delays.
Right.
So like I have friends who work on movies all the time, and so there was a girl for a while who was very well known, and she was a child actor, and then she had a lot of problems for several years. I'm spacing on her name, but I bet you know who it is.
Yeah.
But she just wouldn't come out of her trailer.
Oh wow.
So I have a friend who acted in a movie who worked on a movie that she acted in, and I'd be like, well, what's it like on set with her? And he would say, well, she just doesn't. He's like, well, we get set up in like 2 hours, we're ready to shoot, and then she won't come out of her trailer for 2 days. Or
that's
like
really That's really fucked up.
The entire day she's just in her trailer, and he's like, what do you do? What is she doing? And he's like, we don't know, and we're not allowed to ask.
Oh my God.
So she's just in there.
Extremely frustrating.
Yeah, so I mean, I never heard anything about this movie, but then again, with Berry Gordy, I
think he would run a tight ship, or
I mean, he's
not be too, or he would be. He's not unfamiliar with drug use and artists that use drugs. I'm sure.
Yeah, and he's done with the biggest names in the world, right? I mean, at Motown, like I said, Jackson,
right?
Like not that there's any problem there, but
right, but no, just
Vanity compared to the Jacksons, like, come on, I mean, like,
absolutely, yeah, I'm sure he was able to handle her.
Yeah, not that I know that she was a problem,
right?
But I never heard about a problem.
No, and I wonder just if that's just because of the time, and it was just a different time back then where everybody was really good at there's no cell phones, no nothing really we didn't hear a lot about everybody's personal life or like what was going on behind the set or.
Oh, absolutely, you're right.
So it's just like they were better at hiding it or keeping,
it was also part of the culture too.
Right. It was also a little more accepted.
Yeah.
Because we're still like coming off the heels of. No, it was the 80s. That was
the
absolutely
80s.
That's what it was.
Well, because what you saw by the end of the 80s and as you got into the 90s was filmmaking sort of became like the film companies became owned by much larger corporations.
Right.
So, and when that happened, some of this like playtime on set went away. So like I have friends who like worked on like Dukes of Hazzard, not the movie, the original Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, really?
You know, some older friends.
Oh,
of mine.
wow.
And they would say things like, you know, they would say like, yeah, drug use on set, not just by the cast or some star in a back room somewhere. Like that's part of making the movie. Like go to the truck and get yourself a bump.
Oh my God.
You know, like
wow.
The best boys got you taken care of. And you're like, what, really? And they're like, yeah. I mean, it's a hippie army that were making films, and so even in the 80s, you saw that, you know, that was still like a little bit of a hippie army, a little bit of a, you know, artists. And it's not to say that that was the culture on this movie,
right?
But it was an accepted part of the cultural aspect of making films, where it sort of went away. Where like now. You would never like
no.
It was your production insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's wanting to work with anybody. If you're an actor who is known to like to have drug problems or to be a menace or, you know, a problem child on set, you are not. It's going to be much more difficult for you to get a job or get taken seriously. People like Shonda Rhimes, for example. Right now, you know, woman who owns basically ABC. She's worked with these actors, and these actors, I don't think it was specifically drug problems that they had, but there were shenanigans. I think one of them, he got into some trouble for domestic abuse, domestic violence.
Oh boy.
And there was another one who got into some other trouble. I think maybe it was like alcohol or something, but she immediately wrote them off of her shows. So like there are people like now they are not tolerating the bullshit.
Right. Well, you have to when you're a major star, what happens is you have to go in for a physical, and you have to pass. Like you have like they make you fill out this giant sheet, and you have to pass the physical, and you have to like basically they have to insure you to make sure you don't die while they're making the movie. Wow. And you have to be bonded as part of the bonding process for the film. So this is big movies,
right?
You know, because they don't always have the money that you think that they have when they're making the movie.
Right.
They're like getting loans from other people to get the money to make the movie.
Right.
And these people are like, what happens if I loan you the money and then your actor dies during the filmmaking?
Right.
You got to make sure that you like have an actor that we could bond.
Right.
And
I know, like Robert Downey Jr., he was like uninsurable for a while.
Yeah, and that's where the problem comes in, where you're like, that's when you really have a problem.
Right.
Because you cannot get, no matter how much juice you have or how much like, you know, like the media is sort of playing you up and keeping you on the tip of everybody's tongue.
Right.
That's the wrong tip of the tongue to be on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but Vanity didn't have that much of a problem at that time in terms of like
yeah, I don't really
talk.
Yeah, I don't recall hearing anything about that, and I think it's also like because of her association with Prince.
Right.
I think it's just kind of something that everybody's like, oh, that's just a whole nother culture altogether. Just like being involved with Prince.
Right.
Which is questionable, which I find it curious because you hear a lot. I've heard a lot of stories, read a lot of stories about people who were part of Prince's entourage or his bands or whatever. And when they break off with him, they immediately go to the church. Like there are Vanity Denise was not the first or only story of one of his proteges or his band members or somebody to just go out to break out away from Prince and just be like all about Christianity and get into the church.
But was it right away for Vanity? I thought it was.
I don't know if it was right away, but
later.
I mean, I just kind of, but I use right away a little bit loosely, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories about like people that were in the revolution that have gone on and they are heavily involved in the church now, and it's like, what did you guys see? Like what?
Well, I'm sure that, and this is no comment on what Prince is like now,
right?
But Prince in the early '80s was on fire, crazy. Remember, he's not an LA guy. He's not a New York guy.
Right.
He's not a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
He's a Minneapolis, St. Paul guy.
Right.
What is going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul? You have got to try really hard. You have got to be going really crazy to be able to break out of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he did it. And my understanding is there are Prince albums now. Like they're just sitting in a vault somewhere.
Yeah.
Like albums and albums and albums. He's the type of guy who like goes in to like a locked room and like writes for like 4 days straight without sleep, like crazy stuff.
Yeah, that would not surprise me at all to find out he has like, there's like 100 unreleased albums that he has. Like, seems about right.
Yeah, like, every year, now he's dead every year.
Yeah,
new album
exactly.
every year,
Like, yeah, he's saving up for afterlife. Like he's doing some post-mortem stuff. All right, so what would be your star rating, 1 to 5, of this film?
Okay, so if you want to know my star rating in terms of like serious, like you're absolutely serious, I think you have to give this film like 1.5 stars. Yeah. If you want to say like quality filmmaking, 1.5 stars. If you want to say like I want to have a good time, I want to watch a movie with my friends, and we're just gonna have fun.
Right.
This like maximum stars.
Yes, all the stars.
All the
Give them all the stars. That's basically where I lie as well. It's just like, I mean, if you want to talk about the quality of the film, blah blah blah. If this doesn't stand up next to, I don't know, a good like another film or a Godfather or something like that, no, absolutely not. We're probably getting into the negatives, but it is a fun film to watch. And are you down to watch it again?
Yeah, I'm down to watch it again. I mean, will it change my life? No.
No, but it will change for me for 2 hours at least. Like at the very least, for 2 hours, I will be off on another plane. I will be transported into 1985 Harlem Hyperdrive. So, at the very least. So guys, if you're interested in watching The Last Dragon, if you don't already own it on DVD, it is rentable on Amazon right now for $2.99. So
that's how I watched it. Yeah,
nice. So I also like to see, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, the Bechdel test. I like to see if films pass the Bechdel test.
Nay, lady, nay. They're not passing the Bechdel test.
Nope.
Because at no point do I think two women really talk to each other.
No, there's a point where Angela and Laura, or Angela says something to Laura, but I don't think they actually exchanged, like while she's being held prisoner for the first time in Eddie's place. She was going to say, "No, I'm not going to play this. It's not the right whatever." And then Angie kind of interrupts her and says, "Isn't that what you were going to say, sweetie?" But then that's basically it. That's the closest we get, I think, to actual two named characters, female characters, speaking to each other.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the thing is, this movie is supposed to be a love interest kind of film.
Mm.
So, if from a story perspective, from filmmaker perspective, if you're trying to drive this love story,
Right.
then any time where there isn't a discussion about the love story, then it better be a discussion about Timock's character, about Bruce Leroy, assuming the power that he knows is within him, because
get that glow.
That's what the movie's about. So I'm all for the love story that they try to create here. But but that's what the Bechdel test is sort of like not about at all. It's about two female characters talking about not guys, not a love interest. And there's no like same sex story here, not between minor characters or anything like that. This is the 80s. That lots of movies are not ready for that in the 80s.
I don't know if there's a real opportunity for that here, like to make it like a seamless, seamless script or story. Well, that's it, PJ. Thank you.
Yay!
You did it. You completed your first podcast, and you were great.
Oh, well, thank you.
I absolutely enjoyed the discussion with you, and I look forward to hopefully having you on again at some point, if you would be so kind.
Oh, for sure. I've got a whole list of movies I'd like to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's if you want to give a shout out real quick about Incredible Cases of
Zara
Gordon. Yes.
Yeah. So we made this film for the 48-hour the 48-hour horror film project called The Incredible Case of Zara Gordon. And it was a six-minute film about a woman whose husband is murdered violently by a puppet, and then she goes on a get-back killing spree to try to both warm her heart, but also to kill the things that killed her husband. And while on that quest, she befriends somebody she meets on Craigslist. This woman, Allison Gordon. and they have discussions, and I think that movie might pass the Bechdel test.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe. I think it would. I mean,
Okay.
they do have discussions about things that are not men.
Yeah.
But there's not that much talking in the film.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a short film.
Right.
But so we're hoping to turn it into a web series soon, and we're working on that.
All
so.
right, awesome. So you guys can go to the Goat Milk Fudge website, Facebook page, as well as the Incredible Cases of Zara Gordon Facebook page.
Yeah, the Incredible Cases of Zara Gordon Facebook page, it's there, and we would love your comments. You can see the pilot. You can see that 6-minute film now, 6.5-minute film now. We'll be writing and working on new webisodes. Our goal is maybe 6 to 8. We did do a Kickstarter campaign. We didn't reach our goal, but we're still gonna move forward. It's just
Nice.
on the time frame.
Yeah.
Without the cash, it's a time frame thing. But it's gonna be great, and I'm really excited about it. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, PJ. Always, please, guys, subscribe, follow, like, do all the things. You can check us out on Twitter at DTW Podcast. And until next time.